I would have really liked just doing laundry and taxes with you. Welcome to Primary Technology, the show about the tech news that matters. Massive week. OpenAI has announced a partnership with Sam Altman, Jony Ive's hardware startup. We're going to get into that. Jason literally just got back this morning from Google I/O, and he got to try on those augmented reality glasses. Getting into that, plus WWDC, big announcements there. You might have seen it on my social media. CarPlay Ultra, which we missed from last week, and Fortnite's back in the App Store. This episode is brought to you by Agntcy from Cisco and you, the members who support us directly. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Robles, and joining me, fresh off the plane, is my friend Jason Aten. How's it going, Jason?
It's great. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Delta Airlines, for this episode. They're not sponsoring us.
You're
I just realized I have
thing.
a Delta Airlines. I got to rep our sponsor. They aren't sponsoring us, but they did literally deliver me a...
That is crazy. Well, you were at Google I/O in person, in the flesh, seeing the things, and so we have a lot to talk about there. You know the movie quote because we actually talked about it offline before we recorded.
Yeah, but I couldn't repeat the title to save
Really?
Something about yesterday, tomorrow, everything, and all the things.
Everything, everywhere, all at once. That is the movie.
I have not seen that movie.
Of all the cultural things you give me a hard time about, you should see that one. It's a good one. Hot dog fingers. You'll love it.
I have no idea.
Anyway, there's so much happening right now. This is going to be an unhinged episode of Primary Technology. Huge announcement, by the way. If you support the show, Primary Tech Daily is live. It's been going for several days already. I'm pulling together the top headlines in about 5 minutes, and that is a member-only benefit. So if you support the show, you can do it here in Apple Podcasts. You can do it through Memberful by going to primarytech.fm, click bonus episodes, and yeah, you can get the daily news headlines Monday through Friday, and that is a member-only benefit. A bunch, I think, have already signed up because of it. At least I've seen on social media, so thank you for that. We'd love for you to support the show there. Oh, I didn't even pull 5-star reviews, Jason. What am I doing?
Well, you do that. I thought what you were going to tell our listeners was that if they support the show...
Yes.
That someday you and I will be able to buy Jony Ive's next startup venture.
$5 billion.
Okay,
that's all it takes.
We're gonna need some help. we just wow.
A couple. I should. Memberful has an option where you can have people just support at any level they want. That's what I need to do. Just go.
You know that just because we let people give as much money as they want doesn't mean that like Mark Andreessen is going to be one of our supporters, right?
You're literally repping Delta CEO. He might. You never know.
Ed, you got my number. You've got my number.
You might dump it in there. Oh, we have 5-star rating and review shout outs. Flyaway Mike says it's a great show from the USA. LG, I don't imagine it's LG the company, but just LG from Ontario, Canada. My best Friday morning workout podcast. Thanks for that. And Rob VE from Australia, international here. Battery percentage on, phone in back pocket, and he had a bunch of other things. I'm reading it now, but I'll go back. And I wish I could reply to reviews because some of them are very long. But anyway, those are the reviews. Okay, let's just get into it. This news dropped right before we recorded, which was that. Did you watch any of the video between Sam Altman and Jony Ive?
I did not have time. You literally texted me 45 minutes ago, and I'm like, hang on, let me read some things.
So the news is OpenAI is acquiring Jony Ive's hardware startup, which is not LoveFrom, his design firm. This is Jony Ive's hardware startup, which I don't even know if they've made anything, but some obscure things probably, but not really like techie stuff. But Jony Ive is going to be joining OpenAI and forming I/O.
I think I/O is the name of the hardware startup that he started with Evan Tan, which was a former Apple, and Tang Tan, who was also from Apple. So these are all people that like he poached from Apple, and they got together and they started a hardware startup with the purpose of making a device for OpenAI. And then OpenAI said, "Hey, why don't you make us a device and come be a part of our thing?"
So I/O merges with OpenAI. This is from the announcement post, which would be the first link in the show notes. And I just encourage you to go visit this. You're seeing it now if you're watching it on YouTube. This is big. This really does look like a wedding invite. Like they got some serif fonts for the title. They got this script for the Sam and Jony at the bottom. Like it's a letter from the two of them. And this video, let's just say, you can watch this video on the website that I'm linking. It is a 9-minute video with beautiful B-roll of San Francisco, several clips of Sam Altman and Jony Ive just walking down the street. Jony Ive with a very peculiar gait. I've never seen him walk before, but I don't know. It's an interesting
I
video.
sent you a picture of him. Oh, I guess you can't tell someone's gait from a picture. I was like,
Literally,
literally, I
it's like
sent
one
you a
of those-
picture of him walking away.
So anyway, so this is a beautiful wedding announcement. I mean, a technology merger.
I mean, it kind of is a wedding announcement.
Yes, that it is a joining of a kind. And so, listen, here's the deal. Basically, what this means is Jony Ive is going to be speaking into the design of OpenAI, I believe both in the software side, and they said they have things to announce next year, so seemingly 2026. I imagine a hardware device of some kind from this partnership. Now, that's the whole news. The news is just I/O, OpenAI is acquiring it, $6.5 billion. Jony Ive is going to be part of the design for software and hardware. Here's the thing. When you watch that video, which really says nothing, it says absolutely nothing. It's just Jony Ive and Sam Altman like blowing smoke and like being very nice to each other. And Jony Ive says these things about when I met Sam. I'm not going to do an accent, but he was like, he just cares about people and not just things, but people. It's very, I don't know.
Sam, is that Sam or Matthew McConaughey you're doing right now? I just want to be clear.
All right. And like, all I will say is this: hearing Jony Ive's voice in a video, period, just brings this wave of nostalgia from every Apple video that also had Jony Ive narrating, and I immediately just think, I want whatever is about to happen. Like, whatever they're about to do is probably, I mean, there's no way it can fail as bad as the Humane AI pin and the rabbit. Like, it's OpenAI, Jason. There's no way it's going to fail that bad. But I just want to hear Jony Ive announce a product in that accent. I'm ready. My body is ready for it.
Okay, so I have two things. The first one, I have two words for you because you just laid down a marker.
Yes.
Butterfly keyboard.
That's not the only thing he made, Jason.
Nope, but I'm saying he is capable of making very bad things. Is all I'm trying to say.
He has made a few bad things. He also designed the iPhone.
Listen, I'm not
iPad.
suggesting that he's not. I'm just saying he's not batting 1,000. That's all I was trying to say about that. Second thing,
Sure.
I think it just occurred to me, and I think I'm going to send you this link because I definitely think you should put it into our notes for our listeners because this is so fascinating. It's a interview with Jony Ive in Wallpaper magazine, and I think this letter is the only thing I've seen publicly other than LoveFrom's website that uses the LoveFrom serif font, which I love. And so I think that's fascinating that he found they made a custom font for LoveFrom, and he's finally found something to use it for a wedding invitation for OpenAI and I/O.
I'm going to share it now. It will be in the show notes. I didn't realize they had a whole serif. What is this? This is like an iron print of a Q?
That's from Bakersville. So like that's an original punch that, when they actually had to typeset things, you know what I mean?
Okay,
letterpress or whatever. So, but they based it on Bakersville, but they made their own custom Baskerville. Sorry. Thank you. They made their own. So, okay.
So they're using the LoveFrom font in this wedding announcement. This is amazing. Listen, that's the whole news. We're not going to spend any more time on it, but I'm excited to see hear Jony Ive in another announcement video. And
he better say aluminium or else it's not worth it.
Yeah, the aluminium needs to be in there somewhere. It is also so clear that Sam Altman is trying to position himself as like the Steve Jobs of now. Like he's literally partnering with Steve Jobs' closest partner. I mean,
listen, I was at an event last week. Was that just last week? With another guy who's trying to position themselves as the as the Steve Jobs, and constantly talks about the partnership between Jony Ive and Steve Jobs, and brought in Jony Ive as a collaborator at Airbnb, Brian Chesky. So like everyone wants to be the next Steve Jobs.
Everyone wants to, but like having Jony Ive as a partner, it's closer than I think Brian Chesky is.
I mean, who do you think designed a lot of the interface on that app?
That's fine, but Airbnb is never going to be a hardware company, and like. I don't know. When I think of Jony Ive partnering with someone and making a thing, it's making a physical thing.
Sure.
Okay. Like he's,
I know you don't want to spend a lot of time on this announcement because there's really not much to talk about, but I want to ask a question. I think this is important, and I would love to know what our listeners think. I don't think OpenAI should be making a device. Hands down, I think it's a terrible idea for them. I think OpenAI should be the AI platform that everybody else is building on top of. And I think that once we've seen what happens when you make, like, Meta's the perfect example. Has Meta made any good devices? I mean, the Oculus stuff is fine, but they had to buy a company to do that, right?
Here, okay, I'm going to suggest one product, and you let me know if it moves your opinion an iota. Imagine if OpenAI made wireless earbuds with ChatGPT built in, so you can have conversations with it at a moment's notice.
I mean, I already can. I don't.
But not.
I have
not,
wireless earbuds.
Yeah,
that I can touch a button on my iPhone and have a conversation with ChatGPT too. I mean,
yeah, you can, but I don't know. That was just off the dome. But
I'm just saying.
I can see. Yeah.
I would love to know what our listeners think. I don't think OpenAI should be trying to make devices. I think they have to try because they have to have a surface in which to distribute, their ChatGPT basically.
Right.
But I think their goal should be for ChatGPT to be everywhere. And as soon as you start to make a device, are you going to compete with Apple? And then it's a lot harder to get Apple to be a partner with ChatGPT, and they already are. So it's an interesting dynamic.
If any of our listeners and viewers have an idea of what could they possibly make hardware-wise, that would be interesting. I'd be curious. But I'm just down to hear Jony Ive videos again. It's about time.
It's good stuff.
You were just at an event, Jason, literally yesterday, Google I/O, and they had so many announcements. I mean, I think the total event was like 2+ hours long. They said Gemini 1,000 times. If you were playing a drinking game, it was nice knowing you, but it was that ship has sailed.
Did you see they literally put up a scorecard at the end of the number of times they said AI, Gemini, and then Sundar Pichai's favorite adjective, which is excited.
But I also saw, I think it was Farouk on Threads, that the count was wrong. He downloaded the video, transcribed it, and they actually said AI more than Gemini. So it was it was a little slanted there. But it's so many announcements. Obviously, I want to hear from you because you were there. I did watch much of the keynote. I got in there halfway through, which halfway through was still barely into the announcements because it was a super long intro. So there was a DJ, right? Were you there?
So they always have they start seating people at 9 a.m. So there's an hour of time where they have they have a DJ that's doing all sorts of things. And there's videos happening on the screen. And it's this is being live generated by Veo based on this music. And you're I believe you, but so what? You could just show us stock footage right now. No one cares. It's not a big deal. This is not important. So
you were not dancing to the DJ, I assume?
No, although this year it was way better than I think was it last year? No, maybe it was 2 years ago when the guy there was this duck on the video that was reacting. There's some weird stuff happening. So you listen when we take live music and DJs and AI and video and you put those all that together, you weird stuff happens.
It's everything everywhere all at once. All there again.
What you said, yeah.
So what I said. So this is your article. Jason's article is going to be in the show notes. You were there. We're going to get to the video generator and then the AR glasses because you got to try those personally. Save those for a second. Your article here, and I think from what I saw, Gemini and being on Android, all the personal context features as well as Gemini Search. I don't know if it was Parker Ortolani or someone else was basically Google just announced everything, or maybe you said it. Google just announced everything that Apple promised last year.
Well, I said Google is shipping the things that Apple promised. That's literally Apple is making promises and Google shipping products. Now, to be fair, some of the things which we'll talk about, the glasses in a minute, are not actually shipping products. But this personal context type stuff is shipping. It's available according to Google in the Gemini app on iOS and Android. And if you think about it, the promise that Apple made was that Siri and Apple Intelligence was going to be able to take advantage of the fact that it has access to all of the stuff on your device, right?
Right.
Great. That's super helpful, except for it also doesn't exist at this point, right? They made all these promises and none of it has happened so far. Google doesn't actually have to have access to all the stuff on your device because it has access to all the stuff you put into Google accounts, which for most people are calendar, and email,
Gmail,
and docs. That's it. That's your entire life.
There is a demo. I'm not sure. It was Sundar Pichai actually did the demo. You could tell me about it, but he was showing basically the power of Gemini in Gmail, and he was showing how, let's say someone asks you, "Hey, I'm doing a road trip, and I know you did it last year. Can you tell me about it?" And so rather than you as the email responder having to remember the details, search for the information, maybe you had a Google Doc where you wrote the itinerary and all of that, rather than going through all your stuff, putting it together and replying, you can just ask Gemini to respond, and it will go through not only your Gmail, but your Google Docs and everything in Google Drive, and basically write the email for you with all the pertinent information, and then you can just reply to the person. And like that alone, mind-blowing. And if only Apple could do that, like iCloud Drive is right there. Apple Mail, right there. Like it's all there. They could probably do it on device, but no. So what was that like when he was going through that? I mean, was that impressive at the event?
I mean, I've seen versions of this. Microsoft has talked about this. Google has obviously been leaning into these personalized responses, but what they're doing now is essentially they're giving you the ability to give permission to Gemini to access all of this information. They actually said the word "with your permission" a bunch of times. This particular demo, I actually think was a stupid example of this because, well, Sundar's quote was, "With personalized smart replies, I can be a better friend."
That's
actually,
silly.
though,
that's a bad pitch.
letting Gemini write the email for you make you a better friend? No. Texting the person back and being like, "Give me a call real quick. I'd love to explain some of this to you," or just let me share you this Google Doc that we already had. Like, this is not making you a better friend. So that was a bad example. But the idea that Gemini has this agentic, the ability to act on your information and do things for you, absolutely. That's fantastic. They actually showed a demo of what Apple promised and is sort of rolled out, where you can just, the Gemini Live, where you can just point your phone at things and do stuff and like point it at an invitation and just, it'll pull up Google Calendar and add it to the calendar for you. Like, they're doing all those things. And yes, this is exactly what Apple promised. And so far has barely begun to ship any of it.
Yeah, well, visual intelligence, it really only became some of the features that they showed at DubDub back in this past January, because that's when I actually took it down to Miami and I made a video showing some of the like pet recognition actually in visual intelligence and doing stuff like that. So it's still just barely there. But they're also like Google at I/O. So not only did they show Gemini in search, allowing people to do longer prompts, which they're saying people are just doing, which they have the data. But there was also, and maybe you can explain to me, this shopping stuff, which was basically like seeing items and then asking Gemini to customize it or ask it for other things. What was the shopping thing?
Well, let me just broaden out a little bit. Essentially, what Google is trying to do is make sure that you are still using Google for everything. And in the past, we've always thought about Google as the way we access other things on the internet. And the entire internet is organized around Google, right? SEO is the single most important thing that a lot of businesses think about, right? And the truth is that at this point in time, Google has essentially stopped sending traffic to most websites, right? Because Google wants you to just have Google. So now the whole idea here is that Google is the interface you use to access information on the internet, but you don't actually have to go to anywhere, right? So the shopping thing is the same thing. I think it was Nilay Patel interviewed Kevin Scott, who's the Chief Technology Officer of Microsoft. They had Microsoft Build this week. Great episode of Decoder. You should listen to it. But they were talking about like literally the only reason you'd start a website is if you want to sell stuff on the internet, like e-commerce, because like it's kind of silly to start a blog at this point because where are you going to get traffic from? And so Google is like moving there as well. Like right now, most people start their searches for things on Google. Like they start searches for things they want to buy using Google, and Google's like, well, what if we just let you pick the clothing you wanted and show you examples of it on your, like, it's basically just going, you just need one website. It's just Google. Just come to Google. You can do everything you want to do right here on Google. And I think that's probably bad overall for society, right? But the reason Google is doing this is that it has to lock you in a way that it didn't have to do before, because in the past, Google was the place you went for everything. And now people are starting to use these other, like really this is a competitor to like Search and ChatGPT, right? They want you to have a reason to just stick with Google.
But it is impressive. So this demo, they were creating a look and it would basically find the actual items in the real world that you're like generating. But see, like you can put in yourself, a picture of yourself, a picture of the garment you want to see, and then it'll like superimpose
show you what it'll look like on you.
Show you what you look like. That's cool. But I totally forgot Microsoft Build was also this week. That was early this week, which I didn't even have in the notes. But there is this amazing dichotomy where Microsoft at Build, which I listened to that Decoder episode as well, and hearing what they're trying to enable for website builders to say basically run a large language model for search on your site. So, or it's an API basically where websites can basically serve up what they want as different AIs like in Edge or whatever, search the web. But it's very different from, like you're saying, Google really wants that. Stay in Google. We will do everything. Ever since your article about the Google search pop-up whenever I search in Safari on my phone, now I'm just furious every time because I see it every time. And the psychology of like the blue button is the go to the Google app, whereas the white button that's like more discreet is the
the continue app is, do you want to stop what you were doing and go to this other app and do it there? So your choices are continue or stay in browser, and you're like, well, I want to continue doing the search that I was doing, so which one do I pick?
It is.
Yeah, it's bad.
It is maddening. It didn't actually come up right then when it did it. But anyway, so there's so much to cover. I don't even know if we'll get to Microsoft Build. But listen to the Decoder episode. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's great. The best part about the Decoder episode is every time Neeli asks a question, Microsoft CTO is like, yeah, I don't know. That could be bad. That sounds like that would be bad. But yeah, the what you were just describing is what they call MCP, this model context protocol, which is essentially, I think it was actually created by Anthropic, but the idea is it's a way of telling these agents about your site and giving them the ability to take action on your site. And it's sort of trying to create a standardized way of doing that across the internet so that instead of being indexed by a search engine, your site would host this particular information, and when these AI agents go out, they would be able to it would be able to tell them here's your site information. So you'd essentially be hosting your own index of your site locally, and then they would just come to you instead of scooping it all up. So, and I mean, Microsoft, it's a big deal that Microsoft is adopting this. Of course, Microsoft's not exactly a huge player in search. I mean, they are the other player in search, but they're not. They're pretty small compared to their competitor.
Did Google ever talk about at the I/O keynote how they were going to bring traffic to those small business websites, or how that would work in this age of AI, or do they just kind of skate over that idea completely?
Yeah, I don't think Google right now wants to spend any time talking about website traffic because they know that they have, right? There's a competing interest there, right? Their interest is not to send you out to those blue links anymore. Their interest is to just give you the information. In fact, I sometimes feel like, especially with the AI overviews, which Google made a good point, AI overviews in search is the single largest surface by which most people interact with generative AI. Right? I think they said that there's like 1.5 billion users of AI overviews in search. Now, the difference is like you just go to Google and you type in a search and you get an AI overview. You didn't ask for it, right? It's not like going to the ChatGPT app. So there's 1.5. There are 1.5 billion people clicking continue when that thing pops up on their phone, apparently. But I don't think Google really wants to spend a lot of time talking about what it did to the internet and just traffic on websites and the internet because it is such a complicated thing. So it wasn't a thing they talked about that I caught at Google I/O.
It is curious. The AI overview, I don't know if your experience matches this, but it feels like it's becoming part of the vernacular, even among non-techie people. Like I will hear my wife say it, I'll hear other friends say it, and they'll just say, yeah, I saw in the AI overview, or according whatever. And like they just refer to that now as like the search results rather than the thing. And it's just becoming more and more common. I feel like, do you have anybody saying that or hear that?
Yeah, I think that's true. And you just you made me remember a thing I wanted to point out. The thing about the AI overviews is Google is serving up the information for you, and the hope is that you don't go anywhere else. You just do another search or whatever it might be. The AI overviews include links to things
that are not easy to see or click.
See, I feel like this is one of those examples. This is exactly like that pop-up. Google is including those so that it can say, look, we're giving people the source information and you can just click right here and go, but we really hope you won't. Right? It's like you want credit for including the links to the source information, but you're doing it in a way that you don't ever want anyone to click on those. And I think that says everything you need to know about Google's perspective on traffic on the internet.
And I will sometimes look in that AI overview because it's giving me information and I'm curious, like, where is this information from, it is not easy to find. Like there's a little tiny
Right.
link symbol sometimes that you'll see that. Sometimes it's like at the bottom with like where these are all the sources for this information. So anyway,
Yeah.
search is clearly changing. Gemini on Android and doing the personal context stuff, they're shipping these features. There's this court case in the background where Google is in remedies about, are they going to have to sell Chrome? Do they have to split up? And it's going to be very interesting how their announcements at Google I/O and Gemini and Search, how that will affect all of this, like, and whether they have to give up Chrome and all of that. So that's just Gemini and Search. Then they had the video generator, Veo, and the Flow app, plus the AR glasses. And I just want to show this clip. Basically, Veo can now do video generation with audio. And they showed several examples of AI-generated video with characters on screen speaking, like speaking dialogue. And they have this one, it's like Old Man in the Sea.
This ocean, it's a force, a wild, untamed might. And she commands your awe with every breaking light.
I mean, very impressive. Every example was impressive. And I guess I can't share. I have to share a tab. Well, anyway, this is the clip. And not only does it look more natural, like the mouth movements, the facial movements looks so much better than it did 6 months ago, a year ago for any of these video generator tools. But the audio sounds really good too. I mean, was it impressive there at the event too?
Well, this was an example of a funny thing that happens at events like this, because they showed another clip of these like animated animals in the forest.
The bird. Yeah.
There's like a raccoon and a bird. Yeah, there you go. And they're like, and it'll generate dialogue. And then you listen to the dialogue and you're like, that's really bad writing. But they get done and everyone like applauds. And I was like,
well, because the audio is impressive. Like the dialogue, and the idea is if you have a script and you want to be able to animate that script, then the writing is on you. But if it can generate the audio and visual from your script, I mean, that's the whole production line. Like,
sure.
You know?
Yeah. And I don't think, one of the interesting things is that they were talking about, I think with Flow, which is the actual editor, which is pretty janky at this point. It's real buggy, doesn't work very well at this point, real early days. That's fine. But a lot of the stuff they're talking about, you can extend clips. You know where you can extend clips right now? I mean, Adobe's been
Premiere,
all over that for a while. Right. And so it's like, if you're going to do that, are you going to just load up? First of all, to use Veo 3, you have to sign up for the $249 a month Gemini AI Ultra, which is the other thing I'm going to write about because anyway, but
that's expensive.
But then, okay, if you keep playing this and you just watch the guy's hand as he grabs that thing, you're like, oh yeah, this is bad. This is real. This is like, oh yeah, we're still definitely watch this guy grab this gear shift. I'm like, that hand,
but it's still it's come such a long way in less than a year.
Sure.
Even the initial Sora demos, this is way better. Like than the lady walking through the city or all those things. Like now, I would want to see what is a 30-minute animated episode look like? Like, can you pass that? But
sure.
Otherwise, though, the Flow app and Veo 3, I'm not going to show it again. We've talked about deepfakes on this podcast. We've talked about AI-generated content. Like, this is where we are right now. 2 years from now, 3 years from now. I mean, it is going to be impressive and maybe a little concerning, like how realistic both audio and video can be. So, I don't know. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I think there's good uses for this for things, everything you used to typically think of as CGI, right, in a video.
Right.
Sure. Like that was basically just AI anyway, right? Like if it's just like you had to have a person who was manually doing those things.
That's the thing, yeah.
But I mean, even if you look at Pixar, they're not at the point anymore where someone is literally frame by frame animating something, right? They're creating wireframes and they're creating textures and they're creating characters and all of those different types of things. So like this does feel like the next logical step for that, but that's real different than trying to AI generate a person driving a vehicle off of a cliff and flying because there's a giant bird in the back of it. It's like we're still a real long way off from replacing actors and in that kind of stuff. So
But I mean, Secret Invasion, the Disney Plus Marvel series, that had an AI generated intro. I think it was one of the first kind of major shows or movies to do something like that. And obviously, they'll, I imagine, increasing use. I don't know. Have you been watching The Studio at all? Apple TV
I
Plus?
still have not made it through the first episode, but it's on my list.
It's very good. And there's an episode, I won't spoil it, but AI generated content comes into play. And it's hilarious and, telling. Okay, before we get to the AR glasses that you got to try, I thought that we're going to talk about live demos on stage. Credit to Google. I want to thank our one sponsor for this week's episode, which is Agntcy from Cisco. Not Agentcy. This is Agntcy. Okay, I'm going to read some stuff here. Building multi-agent software is hard. I have not done it, but I imagine it is extremely difficult. Agent to agent to tool communication, still the Wild West. How do you achieve accuracy and consistency in non-deterministic agentic apps? If you're listening to this and watching this right now and you know what I'm talking about, please leave a comment. Please let me know. I want to know if this was for you. That's where the Agntcy, Agntcy, comes in. The Agntcy is an open source collective building the Internet of Agents. And what's the Internet of Agents? It's a collaboration layer where AI agents can communicate, discover each other, and work across frameworks. For developers, this means standardizing agent discovery tools, seamless protocols for inter-agent communication, and modular components to compose and scale multi-agent workflows. Build with other engineers who care about high-quality multi-agent software. Visit agency.org and add your support. That's agntcy.org. The link is in the show notes as well. Thanks to Agntcy from Cisco for sponsoring this episode. There you go.
So not Delta.
No.
Listen, Ed, call me.
There you go. Yes, if Ed listening. I don't know him that personally. Sorry, Ed. I didn't mean to use your first name without any qualifier. Mr. Ed from Delta.
Mr. Bastion. That's his
Yeah, okay, thank you. The demo.
Mr. Ed. You just called him a talking horse. I don't think
No,
that's better.
Michael, this is going downhill fast. Okay. The final announcement was Google's, is it XR?
So it's
Android
XR. So the announcement was Android XR, which is essentially their mixed reality, augmented reality software platform. Exactly. So, and they talked about it on multiple different layers. There was the Oculus Vision Pro type thing, and then there were the Meta Ray-Ban / Orion type.
And that's what the demo was like the Meta Orion or Ray-Ban type glasses. And kudos to Google for doing a live demo that was, risky. They are streaming live video from AR glasses to a massive screen from two separate pairs of glasses trying to do a live translation. And I mean, the fact that it worked at all is impressive. Obviously, the glasses having to process this live video and stream it to the screen was likely intensive, but they had Shahram speaking Farsi, and it was translating live to English in Nishta's glasses. And then she was speaking Hindi, translating it to English in his glasses. And they got a couple messages in, and then it started freezing, and the demo started breaking. The fact that they tried it and it worked, at least for those first couple messages, impressive. Kudos to Google. Apple needs to do these live demos also. This is it's a proof. This is basically a social proof. Look, we have it and we're doing it. And it was really impressive. Glasses look really cool. Obviously, you can do a bunch of other things like directions on the ground, take pictures, remember this, remind me. Could do all those kinds of things as well. But you got to try these, actually?
Yeah, I'm wearing them right now. No, I'm just kidding. These are not them. Although they kind of just look like it. And in fact, these are Warby Parker's, and Warby Parker was one of the partners that they mentioned and stuff. So yeah, so I did. I got to try them for a very brief amount. I stood in line for a very long time, Stephen. I texted you and I was like, I'm doing this for you, man. So, but to be fair, I didn't have to stand the whole time. They finally, about 2 hours in, were like, what if we use that software that restaurants use to take a list of names? I think literally as the line was accumulating, they're like, there's got to be an app out there for this. And someone at Google was like, here, just download this waitlist app. So they did. They just started taking names and phone numbers, and you got the little things see where you're at on the wait list. And by the time I got on the wait list, I ended up waiting about an hour and a half or so after that, but I got to at least not stand there. But it was worth it, I think. It was a very brief demo on very prototypey type hardware, right? So Google's not planning to actually make the hardware. They're going to make the tech, and they're going to work with these partners,
Right.
Warby Parker, Gentle Monster, and I think there's actually one more. I can't think of who it is right now, to make essentially glasses that look like they're a little thicker in the stem, the ones, because they've got a couple buttons. They got a button that turns the screen on and off. They have a button that takes a photo, and then you can tap the bridge or the side here to activate Gemini. And unlike a lot of the demos that I've done with other companies that are very scripted, it was pretty confined. But essentially, I walked into this little room, and the guy said, "Do what you want. Like, here's how you activate Gemini. What do you want to do?" And so there's a bunch of other stuff in the room, and I just look at it, and I said, what do you see? And it describes some things, and I said, well, what type of plant is that? And it told me the type of plant. And then I said, well, I live in Michigan. Would this be a good type of plant for Michigan? And it said, it appears that this one is fake, which it was. So it was telling me, don't plant that one in Michigan.
Okay.
It wasn't perfect though. I mean, I turned and there was a couple paintings on the wall, and one of them for the light, it couldn't figure it out. And the guy was very confused because it had done it many, many times. The other one, it told me the name of the painting, when it was painted, who painted it, that kind of thing. So it was very impressive in that sense. It was, you have a little screen in one of the eyes. The last demo, which he actually called up from a phone. I think, to be clear, this was not something that was talked about a lot. Actually, a lot about the XR glasses was not talked about. And I think they require a connection to a phone.
I see.
I think, I could be wrong, but I think the idea here was that you are essentially wearing an Apple Watch on your face with glasses kind of thing, with a camera and speakers. So it's like a lot of although if that's the case, then it really is just a shame that you can't do more with Apple Intelligence with your Apple Watch. Right?
So wait a minute. So there's only a screen in one lens.
That's correct. In the version that now my understanding is that they did a demo in December for some people where they had a screen in both lenses.
With the screen just in the one lens though, is it like, do you see double? Is it does it show clear? Like it is the kind of overlay you would imagine AR glasses have? Yeah,
I mean, you just essentially see it out there in the distance kind of a thing. And it worked just fine.
Okay.
I did not ask them for prescription. They would have done that, but like, at that point, I'm like, I don't want you to take 3 minutes to get me prescriptions because there's a real long line of people. I was trying to be really kind of nice about that. So to be fair, it wasn't the super sharpest thing for me. The combination probably of this lens technology and the fact that I was not wearing prescription lenses probably contributed to that. But the other thing about it is it only appears basically at one spot. Right. No matter what, there's like either a dialogue window, which is what you saw in that video when you can see it right there. Everything you see it's not like it's going to point up here and be like, this is your destination, or, hey, this is Joe that you met at the party over here. Everything appears in that one spot because that's where the lens is.
For sure. But I mean, it's impressive. Warby Parker also, they're the glasses that I'm wearing right now. I'm just saying, Warby Parker sponsored the show.
And that's true. We were both modeling the product for you. I told you these are Warby Parker.
Oh, I forgot. Okay, no,
but I do think that I think Google gets it, that if you're going to get people to wear something on your face, like these are the people that make Google Glass. Right. Doesn't have a great reputation for the look that there's a whole, there's a reason that they call them glass holes, right? There was a whole specific thing. I think they realize that if you're going to get people to wear them on your face, they have to be the glasses. They have to look like the glasses. And literally, this is like what Meta did well by just going with Ray-Bans kind of thing. And if you think about it, the idea will be that the display part is optional. So you may be able to buy Warby Parker glasses with just the speakers and the ability to talk to Gemini. And then you might be able to buy the ones, and the camera. And then you'll be able to buy the ones with the screen. One important distinction between the Ray-Bans and these is, with the Ray-Bans, when you take a photo, you have no idea what it looks like.
Right.
But with these, as soon as I took a photo, it pops up in the display. You can make sure that it's what you want, and then you can either retake it or you can frame it up, do that kind of thing. So I was impressed. I think that this is most likely the interface that most people will interact with AI on a regular basis. I think that there's a ways to go, but yeah, kudos to them for actually doing a live demo. Like, absolutely. And
Jason, what if this is the hardware that Jony Ive and Sam Altman is working on? AR glasses, right? Just saying.
I mean, Jony Ive is the guy that gave us the $14,000 gold Apple Watch or whatever it was. So maybe. I mean, I don't like, listen, I don't, here's the thing. Obviously Meta has the partnership with Luxottica, which is essentially every glasses brand that isn't Warby Parker or Gentle Monster. So Google has a partnership with the rest of them. So is Jony Ive going to start his own like eyeglass? You know what I mean? It's hard to know because the thing about it is like with the Ray-Bans with Meta or however they call it that, like there are several different styles there. And I imagine that with the Warby Parkers, there will be several different options. So the point is you just buy the glasses that you want. They're not going to look exactly like this, but essentially they were like this. But you could see the photos of them. So you can pick the style that you want. Like, I don't know that people want custom bespoke Jony Ive glasses.
Sure. But it was also impressive because like him just wearing them during the announcement, at first it was like, are those AR glasses? You know, because I don't think they made it.
Of course they were. He didn't make it clear, but of course they were.
Yeah. But as you realize or, understand that, like it is impressive because I think these look even better than the Meta Orions, which are pretty like, even the frames are super thick. I mean, we're getting close. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And so I actually asked about this. I said, so you're partnering with Warby Parker. My sense is that your goal here is targeting consumers. And I know you don't, he's like, we don't have any prices to talk about or anything like that, because essentially what's going to happen is the company, those companies are going to sell them and set the price and all that kind of stuff. Right. I think Google's benefit here is they just want to get more surface area for Gemini. So that's great. I made the reference. I said, so like price wise, are these going to be closer to Meta Ray-Bans or Meta, the Orion? He's like, listen, those Orion glasses have a lot of check going on in them. But that's because essentially they're designed to be self-sufficient, right? They're not meant to be tethered to your phone. Whereas that's what really occurred to me. I'm like, okay, this is Android XR as manifested on these glasses is an extension probably of Android on your phone.
Right. $799. That's my prediction for the first pair of smart glasses from this partnership.
And you can get them with ads for $499.
No, that's Amazon's AR glasses coming in whatever 2026. So, any other interesting tidbits from your demo or?
So I did not do a demo of the Project Muhan, which was the Samsung Apple Vision Pro, but I watch a lot of people put them on.
The Samsung Apple Vision Pro.
They're literally Apple Vision Pros. Like that's what they made. But it sounds like they kind of nailed it. It sounds like the pass-through is really good. Again, I didn't try it personally. I was just standing there waiting in line next to the people that were trying them, and people seemed genuinely impressed. And the one thing that they're going to have going for them is a native YouTube app.
Right. Apple Vision
They also
Pro.
have a cool thing where the light shield is like a 2-piece thing, so you could remove the bottom part of it so that you feel more connected to the augmented reality. Yeah, exactly.
And just to be clear, you did not bring your Apple Vision Pro on the plane again?
No, but I wished I would have worn it to the event. No, I'm just kidding. That would have been quite the...
You would have definitely got on camera if you'd done that.
That would have been pretty amazing. I wish I would have thought about that, but I think that some people would... I just would have gotten thrown out. Our friend Renee Ritchie would have thrown me out.
Which, as a side note, speaking of famous people that you have met, so you remember Renee Ritchie? And you said hi to Dieter Bohn?
I didn't say hi to Dieter Bohn, but he was there. He was one of the people that was way more well known than. But listen, it's fine. Giannis was there, NBA All-Star. He was there.
Right, that's right.
He was at the. I did not meet him, but there are a lot of people there. There's a lot of people there.
It's impressive announcements from Google I/O. They did a lot, and so curious when stuff actually ships, and we will see. I have a couple of Android phones here. I'll be testing with what I can. Let's do some Apple news. Okay. There you go. I know Jason probably downloaded this immediately, but Fortnite's back on the App Store. So there you go. The Epic put enough pressure on Apple and the judge to make him do it.
So was this after the judge basically said, we know you're capable of resolving this, so do the right thing, Apple?
I think so. I think the judge had to once again prod Apple, but then it's there. Both my boys downloaded it.
And I think the exact quote was like, and if you can't resolve it, we'll have your executive come We'll have your executive come and explain why you're not able to. And I think Phil Schiller was like, please don't send me back. Please don't make me go back there.
She did the Darth Vader, pray I don't alter it any further.
Yeah.
Deal, you know? So anyway, so Fortnite's back on the App Store. Last week, this came out Friday or after we recorded on Thursday, but CarPlay...
Sorry, about the Fortnite
go.
thing. I think the obvious thing here is Apple's appealing the original decision. And if
Right.
Fortnite's coming back on the App Store in the meantime, Apple wanted it to be on its own terms, not because a judge said it had to be.
Sure.
Because later on, that becomes a lot trickier for Apple to try to get rid of them. So it's kind of like, we don't want to force the issue because we don't want the judge to decide. We'll just do the thing that they want for now, because now it's being done of our own volition. So we could change our minds later. I just wanted to say that because I don't want to give Apple too much credit, but I also want us to be clear about what's actually happening.
That's good. No, that's good. So this was Thursday after we recorded. CarPlay Ultra, which is the new name of what the next generation CarPlay was, announced back in 2023, I think, or 2024. It's been a couple dub-dubs since this was shown off, but CarPlay Ultra being the CarPlay that takes over all the screens, it is available in a singular car right now, or at least just cars from Aston Martin.
I think it's the DBX, like the brand new Aston Martin. You can get it.
Yeah. So you've probably read and seen about this already. It's just hilarious. And I listened to the Verge cast where Neil was basically talking about the different ways that this can be implemented, because Apple basically had to work with car makers and allow car makers to quote unquote punch through CarPlay to offer things like either air conditioning controls or seat controls, anything that the car manufacturer needs to allow the user to operate. It basically needs to come through the CarPlay interface. And so I think like Apple may design some of those things or speak into the design of some of that, but it sounds like this is really just going to be a bit of a hodgepodge, I think, of like UI and other things, and also not in any cars that anyone's going to have anytime soon. So,
well, I mean, they did announce that Hyundai and Kia are going to be future partners, and they sell a lot of cars.
Do you think my 2011 Kia Soul will get CarPlay Ultra?
Does your 2011 Kia Soul even have a display? Like, does it have a console?
It's got my
like
my CarPride display that suction cups to the dash.
Definitely no. Just get yourself a 10th gen iPad and glue it to the thing, and it's the same. I don't think so. I don't think CarPlay. I don't understand. I mean, like, I like CarPlay. Don't get me wrong. I like CarPlay. I just don't need it to do anything more than what it's already doing, which is basically give me a map and play either Apple Music or Spotify. That's it. That's it.
Sure. The maps is nice, because now that I actually got my wife a CarPlay head unit from Pioneer in her minivan. I don't know if I ever have mentioned it here on the show, but it's in there now. And it works way better than the built-in Bluetooth that was going on. It kept cutting out and stuff. And yeah, it's really fun. And also like the CarPlay share music feature. So like my son can scan the QR code and then basically play music into the car through my wife's CarPlay. So anyway, CarPlay's nice. CarPlay Ultra, I mean, I'll request a review unit from Aston Martin for sure. But
I would love to hear how that goes.
Yeah. Silence. Dead silence. That's how that will go.
Yeah, it's like, well, Apple sent me a pair of AirPods, so clearly they'll send me an Aston Martin.
I mean, anyway, I don't even know where to get an Aston Martin. I wouldn't even know the first place. I would literally have to get an AI overview. Where do I buy an Aston Martin? I have no idea.
Wildest thing about that is, do we think that there's we talked before about the HomeKit versus Vision Pro, my worst take of all time. I feel pretty good about the fact that the majority of people who are spending $200,000 on an Aston Martin do not care at all about CarPlay Ultra. Like, really?
Maybe.
Like, I just don't think that
Sure.
I think CarPlay's fine. Like, I think they're thrilled about CarPlay. Like, was the dashboard interface of an Aston Martin that bad that they needed Apple's help? Like, that's my question. Like, I don't get it. Like, you buy a $200,000 car, you're probably thinking that the speedometer is going to be fine.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't understand why they needed Apple to design that for them.
I just want to say there is an Aston Martin dealer in Tampa Bay near me. So, you know.
Listen, you can get one for like half the price of that Mac Studio you bought.
No, you cannot, Jason. No,
okay.
No, it's way more expensive. All right, last Apple news. Then we got some personal tech in a bonus episode I'm excited about. WWDC, we knew it was June 9th in the week of that, but Apple does this like secondary announcement. I think last year they did it on Google I/O again also. I think they pretty consistently
send out the invites, you mean? Okay, maybe.
They send out the invites for in-person press. They also announce things like here's the platform State of the Union, when that's happening. They talk about the video sessions. So anyway, that was in the Apple newsroom, but exciting. I, for the first time ever, got an in-person invite to DubDub, which is wild and amazing.
You've made it. Listen. Both of your bucket list items, you've been deep faked on TikTok, and you got an in-person invitation to WWDC.
That was not a bucket item. No,
that's how you know you've made it, is when you've been deep faked on TikTok, and then you get to go to WWDC in person.
I'm very excited. This is the Apple Store opening. Maybe I don't know if you consider that an Apple event, but I feel like this is my first big Apple event invite. Yeah, so I'm very excited. So
I just want to say, they're not. You got the in-person invite, so I can say this. There's no world which those two things are even closely related, because literally anyone can walk up to an Apple store when it opens for the first time and shake Eddie Q's hand or whatever. Like it's.
No,
I
but
know you got
early
access.
I got early access.
Yes, they open the doors early for. I'm just. It's still a public space. Anyone can. I'm just saying, like, this is a bigger deal. That's all. This is
way bigger deal. And so yeah, I'm very excited. And my first time ever Apple Park, first time ever in San Francisco. I've never been there, so I'm excited to go.
We need to talk.
Yes, we need to talk. I need to do all the things. Nate already gave me a suggestion for a bread bowl. So I gotta do that.
I mean, just so you know, Apple Park, not anywhere near San Francisco, but that's fine.
I've been looking at all the maps because
I booked a hotel. It's not close to San Francisco, and with the traffic, I mean, give yourself a whole extra day if you're planning on going to San Francisco, to the city. I just want to be clear.
That's what it's. Yeah, I seem to realize that. But anyway,
probably an hour and a half drive is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Well, very exciting. So that's it. It's happening. It's happening. That's the GIF. And I have some other stuff happening tomorrow that I want to talk about in the bonus episode. And I don't want to reveal it here, but I do have a personal take. I think did you put a personal take in here too?
We can do it. Mine is not timely. We'll do it another time.
I mean,
we'll do it next week. We'll do it next week. It's fine.
It's a little teaser. What apps do we have what apps do we allow push notifications for? I like that topic. That's good. I just want to mention a shenanigan that I experienced because I recently upgraded my Mac Studio, as you all know. And I did it from scratch. Yes, you've heard. I did it from scratch. I installed all the apps. And strangely, one app from the App Store is giving me this. I don't think I've ever seen this before. This app worked on my M1 Mac Studio. It works on my M4 MacBook Air. But when I try to open it on my M4 Mac Studio, I just get this blank pop-up window with a settings gear and a done button. And nothing happens when you click done. Nothing happens. And I uninstalled it. I reinstalled it. This is from the Mac App Store, by the way. This is not something directly from a website or whatever. And I cannot get this app to open. And so I went in the App Store app listing. There's the developer link where you can go to the developer website. No, I think that's what it says, developer website. And I'm not saying the name of the app because I don't want to put them on blast. This is not, their deal. They make two apps that I use that are pretty critical for my workflow. And this was their response. I sent them a screenshot. I said, I can't open the app. I don't know what happened. And this was their response to me. For apps installed via the App Store, it is Apple's responsibility to get you a working copy of the app. That's what they take a commission for. In fact, we are not allowed to be involved in that process by the developer agreements. Sorry, but you'll need to contact Apple so they can get it working for you. I feel like it was a insight into the developer relations currently between developers and Apple. I found that fascinating. I did a follow-up email and I asked them, can I buy this app directly from you so I don't have to deal with the App Store? I'll buy it again. I'll spend the money right now. And they're like, no, we only offer it through the App Store. And sorry, So, and then I asked them, like, what does contacting Apple mean? Like, where do I contact them? So on the App Store app page, there is a report a problem link. And so I use that, which sends you to like support.apple.com with some form. I tell it the app that I'm having an issue with, what's happening, and I submitted it. That was 2 days ago. Haven't heard anything. But that's the only thing I can do, I guess, and I don't know how else to fix it. And I just felt like this was a wild experience. I've never had something like this before. How does that feel to you? Like, how does that developer response like feel as a purchaser of an app, and you're talking to the developer directly?
So this is okay. I have two thoughts. The first one is that's the most insane dialogue pop-up I've ever seen. Just a settings gear and the word done that you can't actually click on. There's so much. I just don't get it. Like that just
what
makes
is happening?
I can't get past that. I thought for sure that for some reason you like got rid of, like you masked out all of the words for some reason that you just didn't want us to notice. That it's like, is your
no, not at all.
Some app pop up your social security number or something and you didn't want us to know? Like I just was like, what is even happening here? Okay, fine. My second
I will show you. Hold
is,
on. I'm going to show you I just opened the app live on my computer. Let me see if I can. Oh, I can't even share it here in Riverside because it's not showing up. But I have the pop up. Oh,
okay.
I'm sorry. I can click done and the window goes away, but nothing happens.
Well, to be fair, at least this time when you click done, something goes away, as opposed to that stupid dialogue that used to pop up on everyone's screen that would tell you that Brave is turned off or whatever the thing, and you go turned off reactions and you click the X and literally nothing happens. Like that was. Can you tell I still have feelings about that? Anyway,
PTSD.
As far as the developer's response, I think that's a pretty accurate but terrible way to talk to a customer, because this feels like, you remember a couple of weeks ago when I talked about how, maybe it was even when we had Gruber on, when I was talking about how Tim Cook's response to all developers seems to be full of the rage that he has for Tim Sweeney. Right?
Right.
It's like I'm mad at one of my kids and so I ground everyone. It's like one of my kids. And I feel like this developer's view of Apple, like just that's what they take a commission for.
Yeah, that seemed.
There's some deep something going on that should probably be unpacked, but none of that's your fault. Like you paid the money for the app, and the fact that maybe there's some kind of behind the scenes whatever going on should not affect the way. Now, the flip side of that is the developer probably has absolutely no way of knowing who you are, or even if you're actually a customer, though you went through an awful lot of effort just to reach out if you weren't, you know what I mean? Like that's weird.
Right.
It does seem like a developer should be able to forward something onto Apple saying, hey, dude with this Apple ID reported this problem. Could somebody please, like there should be that kind of a support, because if you like, if you bought batteries from Duracell and you got home and you put them in and they set your flashlight on fire or something, and you called Duracell and they're like, we got them at Walmart, I feel like Duracell could be like, yo, Walmart, what's happening? Like we need to do something. You shouldn't be storing them in a warehouse that's 600 degrees. I mean, there's some kind of an interaction there. So I do feel like the developer, there should be a different process, but that again, that's not the developer's fault. I do think that response is like, wow, there's so much tension here.
Well, it was so dismissive, and I feel like the app downloaded. Like I have the app on my Mac. It downloaded from the App Store fine. How do we not know this is a bug with the app? Like maybe this version, on the latest macOS version, on the latest chip from Apple, like maybe the developer hasn't tested their app on this M4 Mac Studio, or at least on that chip, and maybe there's something wrong with the app. So like to just entirely dismiss it and say like, listen, that's on Apple, it feels a little disingenuous. Like there actually might be a problem on your side that you're just refusing to even investigate. So
the other possibility is the developer's like, how do I know you don't actually work for Apple and you're going to throw me out of the app? No, I'm saying like,
sure.
So they're just like, because the line about we're not even allowed to talk about Fight Club. Right.
Yeah.
The developer agreement forbids us from even having this conversation. So
I should be like, are you hostage? Are you being held hostage, bro? Like blink twice.
Blink twice.
Please.
Exactly. Click done if you're not a hostage, right? Like,
I mean, my email was literally at beard.fm. Anyway. I was surprised, and I still can't get the app to work, even though it works on my M4 MacBook Air. So just felt weird. That was a weird interaction. But anyway. All right. Let's talk about WWDC BTS, behind the scenes, and also my event. I actually have 2 events tomorrow that I'm going to, and I don't know how much I can say about them. So I'm going to put it in the bonus episode because you have a sports show for that. So you can do that directly on Apple Podcast. You can do that at join.primarytech.fm. You get bonus episodes. You get an ad-free version of the show and the new daily podcast, which I have to go make right after this. And so you can support the show there. And yeah, that is a good amount of work. So if you appreciate the daily show or would like one, would love your support. And you can give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcast, subscribe on the YouTube channel, and watch the episode there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you next time.